And we are live, everybody! Greetings, my fellow hunters, and welcome again. It's been such a long time, but I'm here as you can see. It is I, the Old Hunter, along with my two co-hosts.
Hi, I am your friendly neighborhood Dark Souls voice actor, Contractor Darc, known as the Dark Soul VA.
Hello, I'm the Knight of Green, Soulsborne martial artist, and weapons enthusiast, working on Demon Slice, Demon Souls martial arts, and comedy parody, as well as some Darc content.
Well, it's been a hot minute, hasn't it, you two?
Yes, it certainly has.
Yeah, life has gotten between the better of us.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, hold on 2 seconds. I want to check the volume if we're okay. Oh, yes, you can hear me. So. Hang on, this thing. Okay, thankfully it's all working. I just wanted to make double sure. You know how it goes. So, how's everybody been doing for the last few months?
I've been doing fine. Just busy with just college work and getting that bachelor's degree.
Me? I've been doing my works. Got a new job as a restaurant waiter. Pays well. Got paid yesterday. So I managed to do a few things, such as upgrade my laptop's RAM to 60 gigabytes now. And I managed to basically get my computer keyboard fixed. As you can see, I've got nothing here. See? It's all my keyboard. You cannot imagine how godsend that's been.
Yes.
And well, how about you, Green? How have you been?
Mainly just tired, being a father of 4, and all of them are under 5, so that's mostly the pressure, being a teacher of middle. Well, let's say, in Europe, what's the equivalent schooling range for 12 to 13-year-olds?
Oh, that's basic. That's just basically school. If it was above, that's basically like high schoolish.
Really?
Level.
Okay.
No, like high schools are like older.
Older, yeah.
Hang on. No, it's just normal school. It's just like 12 to like years. I think it's like years 4 to 5. Research me. In France, it's completely different. They go from 12 to 1, not 1 to 12. It's reversed in France, but I think around 4 or 5 years in year 4 or 5.
Okay, yeah. But working with those age group of kids is always challenging, especially with this day and age. But it's just what I got to deal with. And the animation project is coming along nicely. But
it's always great to hear. That's great to hear that the animation project is going good. I've been
taking time, but it's just getting there.
Yeah, I've also been practicing my Overwatch game for a little bit.
That's good to hear, gentlemen.
Yeah, I actually got a top 500 player to actually teach me. He's been showing me quite a few tactics I think I need to improve. And I've thankfully been doing that.
It's good to hear to get good at games.
Yes, it is.
The whole point of our series is to get good.
Yes, indeed. Get good, scrub. I miss the Souls community. I need to download Eldenring and have fun on mobile.
I've been playing more Souls-like games known as Liza P, which, by the way, viewers, you should totally get. Also helped nominated for the Steam Awards of 2023.
I'm good thinking of getting it, considering the fact that I think it's going to be an interesting... It's nice to see Bloodborne clones instead of Dark Souls clones, you know what I mean? I think...
Likewise.
Yes, unfortunately... Oh, have you been recently hearing about the Last of Us remaster that's coming out? Last of Us Part 2 remaster coming out soon?
Sadly, I have not, because I tend to get away from The Last of Us ever since the train wreck.
Yes, yes, you see, apparently it's getting a remake. I know what you're thinking, gentlemen. Why remake a series that's, 3-4 years old?
I was about to say, I don't think it's over 5 years old to deserve a remake, but okay.
No, yeah, it's getting a remake. There have been some screenshots between the old version and the new version, and do you know what I saw?
What?
Absolutely no difference.
That's sad. I would absolutely buy an upscale version of Bloodborne.
You can? Oh, but funny thing with that. If you own the digital version of The Last of Us Part 2, you can pay $10 to basically get the remastered. You heard me. Darc?
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah, and guess what? We're not pleased about that, are we?
Indifferent, more so.
No, I'm quite overjoyed. You can hear it in my voice. Hooray!
Yes. Forever the Souls fans are always forever basically shunted to the side, despite the fact that Bloodborne was literally a console seller, wasn't it, for the PS4?
Yes.
In the days when Bloodborne had no console exclusive, Bloodborne was there to basically be showing, hey, you want a new game, but here's a new game that you can only get on our systems.
God of War used to be that until they decided they wanted the money.
Yeah. I still like the idea that you know what I think to this day, before Bloodborne was announced, when Sony basically gave an apology fruit basket to Hidetaka Miyazaki for basically shutting him to the side for Demon's Souls. Remember that one?
Yes, that's exactly why.
Oh, yes. I sure do.
Yes, and I believe we have 2 articles to talk about Bloodborne today, don't we? Since we should get back to our roots a little bit.
We sure do.
One that's basically depressing news, and one that's basically somewhat funny, and we're going to be starting with the depressing to make the funny better. Isn't that always the case?
Yes, because misery does enjoy company.
It does. So, what this whole shenanigans is about is that recently, Bloodborne has announced that Sony is making a live-action movie of it.
And hint this, before getting a port to PS5 and PC.
Oh, yes. This is getting ridiculous. If Sony wants to make money... Let me read this article. We're going to have a few discussions about this. Right? We need to talk about this whole situation of basically about for how many years... Bloodborne's coming about 10 years old, isn't it, soon?
Yes.
2 years.
Yes.
Well, 1 year from now. Shall we say just 1 year? Because we're nearing the end of this year.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Bloodborne is almost 10 years old. 10.
Uh-huh.
And have we heard a single peep from Sony about it or anything? The masterpiece that Bloodborne was?
No.
Demon's Souls got the remake treatment, and that game deserved it because it was how many years old again?
2009, so that's 14 years roughly.
14-ish, I can agree. Oh, so that means next year is its 15th anniversary.
Yay.
Yay, 15 years of the Souls, for the series that basically began our Souls journey. Right, gentlemen?
Yes.
And last time I checked, that remake was amazingly good.
I'm still going to have... Once I get my Nintendo Switch, I'm going to save up for a PlayStation 5 to get that remake.
If you get the remake, I'll play with you, and you'll see, like, wow, this is so beautiful.
I will, and thank you for that offer. And I can finally thinking about it, what do you think, gentlemen? Should I get the Switch or the PS5 first? Just a little preview.
And you start off live with the Switch first, and then ease it with the PlayStation.
Good idea. I think I deserve a new console, don't you? It's been like... The last console I get was my PS4. I think I need a Switch. Anyway, that is besides the point.
Mm-hmm.
So, the point what we're talking about is that basically that recently, to our chagrin, or to our sadness, Bloodborne, as you can see by the title, is recently got a movie adaptation. Is getting a movie adaptation as a movie adaptation first.
Yes.
So, before we read this article...
this insider known as Sam Cawley teases.
So, before we begin this article again, what are your thoughts about this idea?
I'm not opposed to the idea of a Bloodborne movie, although it'd be very difficult to capture the essence of that game within the span of a show, or let alone a movie. Because mind you, a movie does not have nearly enough time to stretch out the story of a game. Because a game is very interactive. You can expand or contrast the story as much as you please. It's like a pile of Play-Doh. You can mold it, sculpt it, or basically destroy it in any way, how. A movie is not nearly as flexible or stretchable.
Green?
So this is going to ask a lot of questions. What type of build is the quote unquote main character going to be? Is it going to be like multiple main characters? Is it going to be like a group of them? What story path they're going to follow? Are they going to go to like, I don't know, do the DLCs? I mean, I guess maybe if they were to condense it and focus on like the old hunters, maybe do like a prequel thing to set up the story of Bloodborne. Like, I guess, but like, I feel like you have to choose a specific narrative to sort of follow, and yeah, it won't really encompass the full scope of what Bloodborne is. It sort of have to be like a mini snippet into like, hey, this is what the old hunters did to the fishing hamlet. Like, I can feel like that could be a whole movie on its own. How they broke into the Nightmare Frontier, and did all their crazy stuff.
That would be an interesting idea, to be honest. But the thing is that also what would the age rating be? The game is rated 16. And if I'm to be honest, guys, I thought we would get more of a Bloodborne anime or something along those lines. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
an anime would have been much better adaptation for.
Anime.
Actually, for those who don't know, Bloodborne actually has a comic series, believe it or not.
Yes, and so does Dark Souls. I believe they are made by the same company that made those two comics.
But I do believe that they're not. They aren't connected to the games in any way, because if I remember some panels of the Bloodborne, it had little to do with the games.
Yes.
Yes,
But it did capture the ideals and the idea of expanding that series.
and then we have the argument: what genre is it going to be? Horror? Is it going to be similar to like an action horror game? An action horror series? Or is it going to be a pure action series? Or is it going to be a pure horror series? Or is it going to be just like a Lovecraftian movie? Okay, that one makes sense. It's love. Any thoughts?
With Lovecraftian movies, it's that it's very hard to replicate. The only instance where I've seen, mind you, I have not seen that wide array of Lovecraftian themed movies, but a good one that I have seen is The Lighthouse, and with William Dafoe. It's an amazing black and white film about two sailors in this lighthouse who go crazy, and it's very horror-esque, thriller-like. That talks about the dangers of becoming insane.
Green, you wanted to say something?
For some reason, I don't know if this was because I was looking at this recently, but the movie Coraline, like,
that movie.
It has a very eldritch sort of like horror like vibe to it. I mean, I know, like blood. I don't know if Bloodborne like look like taking that angle, so it's like you see more from the perspective of say like the what was it, the old gods or whatever, and like how they're playing with people's lives. Like I could see that as an interesting take.
As for me, I would lean to more something like an action horror movie. More of the lines of, yes, it's scary, but at the same time, you can still fight back. I think what would make it is basically that it's the monsters that make people scared, but it's not like, say, like a slasher movie where everybody's just weaklings. The character can fight back, but it's not going to be so much of the running and hiding, and probably more psychological. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
It's a fair assessment, but you also got to remember that there are some, I would say, instances where I feel like as if there should be a presence that should be very hard to literally fight back unless it's very specific and you have to do a certain amount of things in order to fight it. Take, for an example, the moon presence.
I miss him.
Yes, so do I.
But yes, anyway, let's go with this article. Let's see what we've got.
Yes, shall we? It says here that Bloodborne is supposedly getting a big screen film adaptation before a port to PlayStation 5 and PC. From Software struck gold when the lovingly crafted Bloodborne, the Souls-like take on eldritch horror that captured the hearts and minds of thousands of fans.
First off, it's a crime against humanity that the game isn't getting a PC port. First of all,
yes.
And second of all, it's also a crime that it's not getting a PS5 port. I know people have been saying legal issues, but I'm sure From and Sony could make it work. if Sony can get other companies to make updates to the game, why can't they do this one? Right?
Who knows?
Do they need From to help them out with this, or I don't know? I was gonna say the Demon Souls remake came out, and From had very little say.
That's because they took the code from the old games and basically gave it a new coat of paint. This is basically the game. This was basically they'll need to develop the original developers to help to give the game a 60 FPS boost.
Yes.
But if I remember my history correct, didn't Lance McDonald manage to get the game run 60 FPS on the PlayStation 4 Pro? It was a little hiccupy, but he managed to do it.
I believe so.
The power of the Souls community be like,
nothing's gonna stop us. Anyway.
Well, it's arguably some of the best work the developer has ever done, aside from Elden Ring, and it's genuinely one of the most horrifying games I have ever played, says Sam Colley. Unfortunately, despite its immense popularity, Bloodborne is yet to receive a proper re-release or remaster. The original PlayStation 4 version is the only one you can play, leading fans to beg Sony to re-release it for PlayStation 5 and PC.
How long have we been begging again?
Ooh, that's, too many to count.
If I could count how many times we've begged Sony to release the damn thing on PC. Look, I know, I'm a PlayStation fan. I buy all the consoles. But frankly, I would like it also on PC. Make it to PC.
No, in a shocking turn of events, though, it seems Sony is instead pushing for a film adaptation, with a new leak being shared on Reddit by the user Severe Committee 6240.
So I want to just basically say, through this article, just take everything we read here with a grain of salt. Maybe it's not a move. Maybe it's just people trying to bring up hype. Maybe not. But until we get at least a trailer or a teaser, we'll have to wait and see.
Yes. The source comes from Daniel RPK, a film industry leaker with a great track record when it comes to inside information. According to the leak, a film is in the works and is set to be written by Darren LeMackay.
Can you Google what movies this guy's written? I've never heard of him before.
All right. Darren Lem... Apparently, Darren Lemke, from what I could tell, if it ever loads, is an American screenwriter who has been active in the film industry since the late 1990s.
Did you look up the movies he's look up his IMDb page, quickly.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and see that then.
Oh, God.
He's known for Gemini Man, Shazam. Oh, Shazam.
Okay, so he's got to go on Gemini Man? What movie is that?
I am not sure. And Turbo. He's also done Jack the Giant Slayer.
I don't remember that movie. Oh no, I do not like the look of his scores.
Well, even so, IMDb is mostly a lot of critics and such. Because remember, Shazam was also a very good film.
Oh, fair enough. And basically, that got ripped by the shreds by the critics. I feel sorry for these.
Mainly critics now do not really rely on the process of creating the movie and the whole point of it. Rather giving dudes doing brownie points. But might I digress, that is a conversation for another time.
Yeah, but for the record, who remembers Turbo?
Oh, it's that thing with the snails.
Exactly. You probably forgot about it until you mentioned it.
I didn't recognize it until I looked at the poster.
Oh, he made Shrek Forever After?
I heard Shrek Forever After was good.
I did watch it. It was a great send-off to the series. Shrek the second. Yeah. So, and Flashpoint.
Point lost. Stockies, Chris.
This resume doesn't look particularly good, doesn't it?
Yes, I see only a few gems, but hey, we won't know until he tries it. So
Perhaps a diamond in the rough story, then?
probably.
Anyway, back to the article.
Yeah. According to the leak, from what I could tell, a film is in the works and is set to be written by him, and it's a currently unnamed protagonist will venture into Yharnam to find it overrun with people that have turned into beasts. It will set out to uncover the mystery of what happened while fighting monsters and cosmic entities.
I think there's a small problem with that statement because anybody who's played Bloodborne already knows what's going to happen.
Yes, but apparently from what I can tell, I think he's trying to take a direct approach to a much more broad audience, which is hopefully not the case.
This is... You know what this is going to remind me of, painfully? And I mentioned in my One Piece review.
And what would that be?
Dragon Ball Evolution. I know, Lo. Oh, by the way, I said in the One Piece review that it's actually the standard of what I'm going to compare other live-action adaptations from now on. So go watch my damn review, if you're interested to see my full opinion. Anyway.
Now, the problem with this gentleman, from what I can tell, is that if this is the case, I hope it's not doing for a much broader audience, because let's take it for example that a more popular movie has now taken the nation by storm, and you know what movie that is? It's based off of another game series with another horror element. Now, it's a 4-syllable word. What's it, everybody? Starts with an F and ends with an F.
Oh, FNAF.
Yes, correct! You get a golden star! Now, from what I could tell, that movie was made for the fans. And that did very well.
Pat was in it.
Yeah. Also heard Markiplier was supposed to be in it, but it could not. But he heard he's going to be in the second one. Anywho. Now, if we were to take in the elements of what made the FNAF movie great and such, it was made for the fans, and the fans loved it. Now, if Mr. Darren Lemke can replicate that into the Bloodborne thing, that would be great. He's making it for the fans that know a lot about Yharnam and the old cursed ways of the old blood, and, you know, the monsters within it and the cosmic entities.
I think I'm going to put a little poll in that little thing and realize that this is made by a big studio, and big studios don't care about trying to please the fan bases. They just want to get as broad of a net as fucking possible. Because to maximize profits. Because, let's be honest, if you and me watch the movie, we would love it because we know everything. But if I just can sniff something in the air, this is basically going to be a movie that's going to be just as broad as possible with a few nuggets here and there for the fans, bones for the fans. I know it's optimistic of me for saying this, but basically, name me one good live-action adaptation of a video game movie. And before you say Castlevania, that's an animated series. That doesn't count.
FNAF. That was a good live-action adaptation.
Touché. I walked myself right into that one, didn't I?
Yeah. But to be fair, Blumhouse does have a much better track record of respecting their fan base more than Sony does.
Yeah, that's true. So because Sony loves to, you know. Anyway,
I mean, why don't you ask what happened to Last of Us and Spider-Man?
Let's see, they cast Tom Holland as Blimmin. And
then again, I'd rather not mention anything with Spider-Man. Now, the article here continues as fans were intrigued, excited, and a little bit dumbstruck, especially since if the leak is credible, it means Bloodborne is making its way into the film industry before new-gen consoles and PC, which is both sad or hilarious depending on who you ask, with this one sentence being one fan saying, "Holy bleep, Bloodborne got ported to a movie screen before PC, Lamau!"
It feels like that's every single soul Bloodborne fan in the community. Would you agree with that, Green?
Yes.
Green?
Great.
I think he's a bit busy with his kids. We'll give him a couple minutes.
All right. But it also states...
you agree. Now,
it also states here that there's another one who added anything but 60 FPS PS. It just hopes to see something about a sequel one day. Trust me, I've been hoping to see a sequel to Half-Life 3, but I know that ain't gonna happen.
I figure at this point there's more chances of Half-Life 3 coming out than Bloodborne 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make a bet with that one. I'm not stupid enough to do that.
Yeah. Well, someone else then said, the fact that we got a credible Bloodborne movie rumor before we got a credible Bloodborne port rumor is generally one of the funniest things that, okay, that's just another iteration.
Let me read the last one. If a Bloodborne film is actually in the works, it is be interesting to see how they adapt the fast-paced and strategic gameplay from Software's masterpiece to a more narrative-driven experience. The way they're going to do it is cut down the violence and up the story a tad, because that's what you normally do. I don't know how to feel about this movie, because it just basically reeks of desperation for Sony.
Yes, I feel like they're trying to milk money out of a pre-existing, IP, not mainly because they care, but because they want extra money.
Let's think about it. The Last of Us got the live-action treatment, it was okay. The Uncharted series got a live-action treatment, it flopped.
There were still a lot of issues with The Last of Us live-action, but it was okay still.
Actually, funny thing, I hear there's actually a God of... Unrelated to this, but there's actually hearing of God of War getting a movie adaptation. No, I'm not going to look it up an article with that because I'm not a God of War fan. I played the first. I played 1, 2, 3, and the remake, but I haven't played Ragnarok yet. So I have no attachment to the series.
I had played 1, 2, 3, and Ragnarok and the remake on PS4, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Well, I just wonder how that's gonna, accomplish.
If Bluepoint was what was the studio that did the live action FNAF movie?
Blumhouse.
If Blumhouse had the helm of Bloodborne, I guarantee you it would be a decent movie. Maybe a bit decent movie,
but I think it'd be more horrific because they're known to make horror movies.
Yeah, horror movie, true, but Bloodborne is horror-like. I think people say that Bloodborne isn't a horror game, but it's more horror than even Dark Souls. Dark Souls series is quite horrific in a lot of ways. It has a lot.
Yeah, Bloodborne definitely has a much more horrifying presence in it than its Dark Souls counterpart. I will say that.
Compared to say its other brothers like Elden Ring, Sekiro, and Dark Souls, Bloodborne is actually more fervently stated to be horrific.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know I break this series up constantly in my podcast, but if the Nier Automata anime did decently well, I've had some people say they didn't like it who are bigger fans of the series than I am, so I had to go in basically with my own ideas of it. I did say it wasn't okay. It did adapt a lot of things fine, and it added things from outside sources, like the stage plays, the books, and everything else in between. So at least try to be faithful to the original. But this just basically makes me worry because Nier is more of a narrative-driven game. Bloodborne isn't. I think people look. And before you say it doesn't have a story, every single Souls game has a story. It's just that they're more obtuse about it. The focus on each gameplay is gameplay. And if people want to crack at the lore, that's perfectly fine.
It's mainly gameplay first and then story afterwards.
Yes, so this is the first issue. The second issue is that basically, Sony has teased Bloodborne a lot, and whenever they do it, it just basically makes them look like idiots. Remember when they posted the old Bloodborne picture, and people thought, oh, Bloodborne news, and they said, sorry, it's just basically just reminding you of what Bloodborne is. And then basically every single person who liked Bloodborne says, we know what Bloodborne is.
Yeah, that wasn't a happy day.
It wasn't a happy day. And then basically they just say, oh, well, we're going to remake The Last of Us again. Twice. The first game got a remake for the PS4, and then the PS5 is basically the second sequel is getting a PS4, which, mind you, is getting a remake again. This just feels like
thoughts on it, Green.
Yes, I think we need your thoughts on this, mate. Kid again.
They really doing us bad here.
When have they ever done us?
Word, brother, word.
Word. Any more ideas?
I mean, best thing I could say is, considering how Armor Core is doing and just other like FromSoft related things, I feel like Sony's going to need to put into gear what they have to do for the FromSoft committee. To be quite honest.
I know that we get the slack that we're a niche community, and we're a bit more mainstream thanks to eldenring. I will take pride in the fact that eldenring managed to make us mainstream. I miss the days that we were more of a niche group, don't you?
I agree.
But things can't stay niche forever. That's the sad fact of life. But the fact is that basically Bloodborne is such a coveted game that sometimes people wish it was on other platforms, including Xbox fans. If you can see where I'm going with this screen.
So they can.
Mm-hmm. Can you repeat that?
So they can experience it.
Yep. And I think you know where I'm leading onto this one, eh, Darky?
Oh, yes.
Now, mind you, this one article's like a year old, but I feel like it's still relevant.
Gentlemen, the article here by Catherine Lewis states, Xbox is still angry that PlayStation is gatekeeping Bloodborne.
Yeah, and remind you, this was before the Bethesda acquisition. I think it was it was when Bethesda Microsoft acquired Bethesda and actually had most of their IPs. And look how Starfield's doing. Anyway.
I don't like Starfield.
You said you didn't like it, or you like it?
I guess it's okay. I wasn't that...
Fair enough.
I guess I might raise my expectations a little bit too high. Oh, well. Well, it states here that the all-new PlayStation versus Xbox fight continues. When has it ever stopped? As Microsoft carries on justifying its planned acquisition of Activision. For anyone out of the loop, Sony has quite understandably been expressing its concern for that buying out Activision would make Microsoft too powerful of a competitor, practically since it'll own the Call of Duty franchise if the deal goes through.
And I like to keep reminding people, when has Call of Duty ever been relevant anymore? Outside of being just a bad meme game at this point.
Well, it used to be relevant.
It was
the original games used to be relevant.
The original games had at least some good heart and soul to it. These games just...
Yeah. They literally added, Attack on Titan skins and, the Boys skins and also, Hellsing skins and Skeletor skins and you get a skin and you get a skin and you don't get a skin, but you get a skin. Everyone's getting skins of... It's trying to become Fortnite, and I hate that.
I think it's already becoming Fortnite. And I swear, I know that game hasn't been relevant in a few years, but I'm getting tired of that game.
Well, Fortnite's still relevant, but I just choose not to acknowledge it.
Same here. I pretend. If people ask me, do you play Fortnite? What's Fortnite? And I continue.
Yeah. Now, what's followed has been a whole load of back and forth arguments, including Microsoft claiming that PlayStation's games are better than Xbox, and Sony already has far more exclusive titles, yada yada, blah blah blah. Now, anyways, as reported by Windows Central in Microsoft's latest response to the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC for short, the company pointed out how many desirable third-party games are PlayStation exclusive, and gave a few specific examples. It's fair to say that there's a few that the company are still feeling a bit salty about. In addition to having outright exclusive content, Sony has also entered into the arrangements with third-party publishers, which require the exclusion of Xbox from the set of platforms. These publishers can distribute their games on Microsoft's response via Windows Central.
So, first of all, Bloodborne, and I know I'm past the whole exclusivities and whatnot, but the argument is that Sony funded the game for Bloodborne, or most of their exclusives. They own the IPs of said exclusives, like The Last of Us, God of War, so on and so forth. Right? They own those IPs.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, they do. Technically, from a copyright standpoint, yes, they do.
And the fact is that basically they have every right to do what they want with their IPs. If they want to basically publish them on their own to keep themselves their content, that's their right to do so.
Yes.
And the fact is that Bloodborne, they own that IP, but it's a joint ownership. Bloodborne is co-owned by Soulstuber. Anyway.
Now, the article still quotes some prominent examples of these agreements include Final Fantasy VII Remake by Square Enix, Bloodborne from Software, the upcoming Final Fantasy
16.
And
the
recently announced Silent Hill 2 remastered by Bloober Team, which I'm also very excited to hear about.
So first off, basically, Final Fantasy VII basically did arrive in the Xbox after a bit. You can get it on Xbox now. Second of all, forgive me for saying this, but isn't the Xbox a little bit weaker than the PlayStation? Has a problem where it has two different consoles, and the fact that Microsoft...
be careful. You're gonna get a lot of comments.
Oh, I don't give a freaking flying ass. That the fact that they have two consoles, and that Microsoft insists that if you're gonna port a game to publish a game, you need to port it to two consoles. And the reason why Baldur's Gate isn't on PlayStation, isn't on Xbox, is because the team that developed Baldur's Gate 3 couldn't find a way to get the game onto the other console without sacrificing so much. By the way, I'm hitting the nails on the head, aren't I?
Yes.
Yeah, but you're gonna get a whole bunch of angry people. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, if they're gonna complain about basically the truth, then who's the one with the attitude, right?
Yeah, but just be careful. Them fanboys are crazy.
Every fanboys are crazy. Even the Sony fanboys are crazy. Do you remember?
Oh, I know.
Look, I'm the neutral party here, but the point I'm just trying to say is that basically Microsoft has shot themselves in the foot for this entire generation.
Mm-hmm. The
fact is that, I'm going to just say it, they don't have any good exclusives. Even when they bought out Bethesda, and they released Starfield flopped, and when Spider-Man 2 came out, it was a roaring success.
Yes.
The problem is that they don't commit to anything. They just and they always try to rely on Halo. This is like if Sony just relies on something like on God of War. They do. Kratos might as well be their mascot these days.
Right.
But the thing is that they don't just have Kratos. They have Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us, I know. Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series. Sly Cooper from Sly Cooper. Ratchet & Clank from Ratchet & Clank. What else?
Master Chief, you mind telling me why you're not in, the companies on the front line? Sir, I'm no longer irrelevant.
Or basically... the thing is that Microsoft has good IPs, they just don't want to commit because they risk it's going to be a failure. Sony does put out risks every now and again. And yes, some of them flop, but at least it makes have a niche.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a real shame because Master Chief was technically the company's whole mascot.
Actually, no. There was actually an older mascot than Master Chief. It was a cat mascot.
Well, yeah, but nobody remembers him except a few people.
I do. Oh, fun fact: he was such an unpopular character, right? That the minute his copyright lease his copyright expired, Microsoft didn't even bother to renew it.
I wonder why.
But again, the problem is that they do not commit. Bloodborne was going to be a big risk because, it's a Souls-like. And and remember back in 2015, our genre was still a niche that not everybody's going to like it. Remember, they should add Darc easier to Dark Souls. If you schmummy schmuck who thinks that schmuck. Look, people say that games should be for everybody, and I disagree. Not every game should be everybody. What makes Dark Souls great for us is that basically it gives a sense of belonging. But not every, go on, Green.
No, I was about to say, I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah. The fact is that basically if everybody liked Dark Souls, I'd be basically just feeling like, yay. But the fact is I could go to a Vati's server and talk about it for ages, and I could actually just make people understand it. And when people say to me, oh, I don't like Dark Souls, they say, shame. I enjoy the games. Shame you couldn't get into it. But I was just think it's just not for them.
Agreed.
And speaking about Final Fantasy 16, I think the reason it's not going to be coming to Xbox anytime soon is the exact same reason I said about Baldur's Gate. The fact is that Microsoft is insistently to focus on both the consoles, and since I've seen 16, it's not a graphically easy game to process.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, but apparently, as reported by Windows Central, in Microsoft's latest response to the federal, FTC, it's basically describing how PlayStation exclusives are many of the desirable third-party games, which are given a few examples. It's fair to say that there's a few that the company are still feeling a very bit salty about.
We already read about the whole, Silent Hill 2, which would be interesting. I'm still a bit salty about Silent Hills. Remember that one?
Yeah, how they robbed a completely fresh idea.
Yep.
Oh well, can't have everything. Well, I'm sure Microsoft wouldn't be the only ones happy if Bloodborne became multi-platform. The 2015 title is widely considered to be one of the From Software's greatest games, if not the greatest. Many are still holding out for a new-gen remaster, but it sounds like as if it were to happen, it'd still be a PlayStation exclusive. What's also interesting is the mention of Silent Hill 2. We already knew that the remake was a timed PS5 console exclusive, but this new response seems to indicate that it won't be going anywhere else beyond its PC release. It's a shame, but definitely nothing that Xbox users aren't already used to.
Again, I wonder why it's not going to come to the Xbox. Shocker. 2 consoles, one weaker than the one you're supposed to sell, doesn't exactly give much exclusivities, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Look, I'm still annoyed that they don't have backwards compatibility with PS3 games for the PS5, because there is the code for the emulators is in the console.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is. It's a real shame that PlayStation doesn't do backwards compatibility. But
thankfully, the guy who has said that they were going beyond that backwards compatibility is obsolete got booted out. So we might actually get someone new might actually have a sense of pencils.
Right.
And I'd argue if PlayStation were to ever do backwards compatibility, then that would be a huge leap forward in the Sony business.
It would basically make Bloodborne. It would basically make. It would leave Microsoft in the dust. You know why? Great exclusives, great backwards compatibility with older games. What's the duck to like, right?
Yeah,
right.
I can't believe I'm actually thinking. Oh, but it's going to cost effective. The code is already in the console. It's in the console. So, what issue is it going to be?
Good one.
Nothing. It's just a simple few switches to turn on the code. Put in your PlayStation 3 your PlayStation 3 physical games, or if they bring those games to the PlayStation 5, download them, boom, you got an emulator. Sure, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be better than anything else. Right?
Yeah, right. I guess in a way, yeah. I just hope that Darren Lemke can still keep his promise and make an actual good adaptation of this Bloodborne movie, but...
let's just hope he's not going to be Uwe Boll about it. Anybody remember him?
Yes,
oh my god, you know what I'm grateful for?
What?
Uwe Boll retired from making video game movies before Bloodborne came out, because I guarantee you, if he was still making his damn movies, he'd basically ruin that one.
Yeah,
Hmm?
he probably would have.
This is just. I feel like. Sorry. Give me 2 seconds. I feel like that basically this is just a situation of basically what do we do now? So, Bloodborne comes to PC. It'll be basically it will be a great thing, right?
Mm.
But if say it doesn't come to PC, and because the only reason that they announced made The Last of Us 1 Part 1 remake is because to in tandem with the movies. So maybe if we are a little lucky that maybe that they will announce a remake for PS5/PC for just because remember the movie came just going by some patterns. The live action TV series was announced before the game, correct?
Yes.
So maybe when it's officially confirmed, and I'm crossing my fingers and hope to die, that if once the Bloodborne movie officially has its release date, right, we might get announcements for a remake/PC port.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that's at least hopeful, you two?
Could be.
Yeah, probably.
I hope so, because frankly, I think I'm getting sick and tired of basically just waiting around thinking, hey, Sony, when are you going to basically do the live-action adaptation, the PC port that we've all been dying for God knows how long?
Mm-hmm. Likewise. Although, on an unrelated note, let's talk about some good news. There's apparently a brand new movie that's basically coming out that I'm going to go see, which is, hint, Godzilla -1.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I hear that outside of Japan, Godzilla is pretty popular in the States too, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
apparently from actual people that got to see it early or early screenings of it, it apparently is one of the best Godzilla films that the series ever had, which is on par with the original movie from 1954. So I will be explaining that later on and seeing if it's going to be good. But likewise, it's from what I can tell, giving the fans what they want, but also taking it in a fresh, new, I would say, interesting direction.
What's the fresh, new, interesting direction? It's giant monsters stomping around all over a city.
You take that back.
I hit a nerve, didn't I?
Yeah, you sure have, but it's going to be. But apparently, I heard that it's a little bit more than that in this film.
Go on. As someone who's never seen a Godzilla movie, except the crappy 1998 version.
Well, that one's not that, I wouldn't say, the best one to start off with.
I didn't know about the series before then, okay? I was a kid when I watched it. Anyway,
yeah, I know.
Okay, anyway, so what is the stories about? Just enlighten me a little bit.
Okay, so it's basically centered around directly after World War II. A monster arrives from the ocean, basically, to represent the nuclear, I would say, devastations of Japan and such. But what I can tell is that it's going to be centered around more acting, and the quality is going to be a very clean crisp of it. And not to mention, the characters in it are going to be very, I would say, post-traumatic and have a lot of, I would say, worries about it, because this technically makes Godzilla scary, in a way.
Wasn't he scary before? Then again, he was just a guy in a rubber costume, so I guess it looked more silly than scary.
Well, yeah, technically he was scary, but this is due to, I would say, it has a more, from what I could tell from sources, is that the people in the film, you will grow attached to them, and so it's a very, I would say, character-driven movie.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. Is it going to be a sequel to the 2008 or the Godzilla vs. King Kong movie thing?
No. It will not.
By the way, I actually want to ask you: did you two like that? Both of you like those two movies? Because this was like the second and third attempt of a more Western Godzilla movie.
I think I have seen it, but then again, I need to rewatch it.
I know. Just hearing that. I just hear that it was actually the best. That this was the Godzilla 2018 movie was actually a good attempt, and the Godzilla vs King Kong was actually a good sequel, which was a sequel to the remake King Kong movie that came out before that.
Yeah, Godzilla vs Kong is, I would say, a pretty interesting film.
It does go back to the original. It was basically like a rematch between the original King Kong versus Godzilla movie that came out so many years ago.
Right.
I'm surprised that Universal was able to get the rights to do that movie. King Kong was public domain. Godzilla isn't.
Yes.
I didn't know that Godzilla is actually a cultural ambassador to Japan. That's what I found funny.
That's so cool.
Yes.
A cultural ambassador to Japan. Imagine that, Godzilla in a suit going to a political meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's because Godzilla is such an iconic thing in Japan that, hey, he represents our culture.
Yes. I mean, I'd be open to have a political figure as a giant reptile that, breathes atomic rays. I'd be up for that.
I think one of my favorite moments was a while back was basically when there was this politician in Taiwan that was basically cosplaying Asuka Langley Soryu from Evangelion to get votes for her party. That one was my favorite. No, look it up! Look it up!
Alrighty.
I promise you, I'm not lying.
So it was for Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Yep. It was a Taiwanese politician, and she was actually a cosplayer before she just did that. It was fantastic. Yeah, first thing you see.
Yes.
Told you.
Quite nice.
Hey.
Well, that being said, just want to say there's going to be good news and such.
Keep going. I think more good news.
No, I'm just saying that was the good news I had to share.
Ah, that's good to hear. And any good news on your end, Green?
No. Not really.
Shame. So I guess any good news on my end then. That basically I got my laptop fixed, so my keyboard is no longer. I don't know how to use an external keyboard, so it's here. Second of all, I got 16 gigabytes of RAM on my computer now. So that's great. I can play more games now. Been a smooth experience, I can tell you that much. And overall, it's just been basically good work. Had a good month, got paid yesterday for my work. I got a 1-year contract, good pay, and good hours too. I start at 9 o'clock and finish at 3 p.m.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So a good afternoon. And then I get week public holidays off too. Which is always a bonus, don't you think, boys?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, things have been more interesting with ideas of it's a shame that I would still think that basically we should try to get other avenues of others, people who are interested in Soul series but are also big fans of other series, and so what does see. What if I would? You know what I would really like to do for this podcast, guys? Just something.
And what would that be?
Get someone who is not a fan of the Soul series, right? But is interested in it, right? But
and wants to play.
Yes, but wants to ask us questions about the Soul series. We don't ask them questions; they ask us questions for a while.
Well, so for us to be interviewed by someone that has no idea what the Souls community is or is
on my podcast, that would be pretty good, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
It would be a fresh take. But sadly, that's going to be easier said than done sometimes. Why?
Yes, it's hard to find those people.
Yes, especially when they're content creators, because they're probably just So it's always a hard time. But you know what we Souls players are always good at? Being stubborn.
Oh,
Well, you got that one right.
Yes. I miss talking to you guys. This was actually fun, wasn't it?
it was.
Yes, it was. I was thinking we should just end it here because it's already like we do usually in 1 hour podcast because we just like to catch up, talk about things and doing. So yeah, I think we're gonna end it today. I hope
That sounds
so. So, what do you guys think? Enjoyed yourselves?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I would say to an extent I did. Somewhat more hesitant in the future now for our lovely Bloodborne baby that's going to probably be butchered or not, but I hope it doesn't.
So,
Right.
as I will always do, I'll suck this in. So, I hope anybody who's watching this after the stream enjoyed the podcast. I'm kind of glad we had a good podcast after a good 2-3 months hiatus because of personal things. Life is always knowing how to basically screw us up, right?
Yeah, it sure is.
And the fact is that basically I enjoy just chilling, talking about things, and hoping for the news. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll leave the links to these two fine gentlemen's channels in the description as always, so that you can check them out. Their Twitter is also down below. If you like comic dubs of Darc here is a great voice actor, and if you enjoy martial arts and swordsmanship, Green is a great swordsman in my humble opinion.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, and so I was always say, may the good blood guide your ways, my hunters,
And fear the old blood.
Take care.
Take care, you two.